Good morning, you all, and happy November. Oh no, this isn't the first Saturday of November, is it? It's the second. Felt like it because last week was November 2nd. I am so excited to be able to wrap up this book with you guys. Like I said, I like to call it the Fun, Colorful Book. I always forget the name of it, so I call it the Fun, Colorful Book because it has been quite fun, and it's kind of funny. And just the way the guy writes and stuff. So I'm excited to wrap up. So we're going to be talking about pages 65 through 93. So we're finished off. And if you haven't yet got your book for the next book club, I want to encourage you guys to make sure and go out and grab that book by John C. Maxwell. Everyone Communicates But Few Connect. I got to tell you, I just want to plug that book really quick before I go into this one. I first read that book, oh gosh, when it first came out. And I remember when I read it, and I remember thinking, wow, I wish John Maxwell had this book written when I joined Argonne, because it would have helped me learn some of the things that took me a long time to learn. It would help me learn them quicker. So if you haven't yet purchased that book, please do. And I challenge you, I know a lot of you like to listen, and I think that's great too, but I challenge you to have the hard copy of it, so that you can really get the meat out of it, because there's so much meaty information in that book. Like I said, it's amazing. I wish I had it around when I started Argonne. It would have helped me so much in my leadership and learning, but I can't wait to do it and read it again. Because you know what they say, guys, when we read a book that we've read several different times, and when we read it again, guess what? We get new things because we're a different person at a different time. And so you want to definitely do it. It's called Everyone Communicates But Few Connect by John C. Maxwell. Such a good book. I believe if you're a part of the Facebook group, Carlita's already posted a photo of it. So we'll be starting that one next. So on to this fun book, and let's wrap it up. I mean, guys, how many of you have found yourself like talking to people and, oh my gosh, they're yellow. I literally did that the other day and told somebody that in a three-way conversation. And I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have done that. But it's just funny how we identify and now see things kind of in color. And it's funny because for some of the folks that I know who aren't reading the book, and then I reference it and they're like, huh? And I'm like, okay, you just need to go get the book. Like, it's like 93 pages long. Like, it's a super quick, easy read. I read it in like a couple of days. And I could have read it if I had just sat down for an hour and a half and read it. I would have finished it. It's that easy of a book. So if you've been hopping on these calls, but you haven't actually dove in and read the book, I highly suggest you do that. So we're going to start on page 65. I have my notes broken down into 7 different points, but it says no agenda means quality conversations. You remember last week we talked about having some of those conversations with people to kind of get the gist of what color they are, to learn about their personality. And he talks about how when we listen, we get more and we gain more grounds, and especially when we have no agenda. Like, I literally circled no agenda. Every time he said that in the book, I circled it. No agenda. Like, when we go out to have conversations with folks, and I say this to people all the time, like, if you have a hard time talking to people, just be friendly. Start talking to people, whether you're at the grocery store, whether you're at a clothing store, whether you're at your kid's basketball game or football game. Just be friendly, but you don't need to have an agenda. And what we mean by that is, if you're just going into it to meet someone new, to get to know them, Arbonne will eventually come up. Arbonne will eventually come up because they're going to turn around and want to get to know you because you've been getting to know them. But don't make it your agenda, because then it gets weird. So, like, if you've heard me talk about how I've overcome fear in my life, like in the beginning of Argonne, I was petrified to talk to people and did not have like a skill set at meeting strangers. And so I did what I call practice talking to people. And so, like, wherever I was, I forced myself to create conversations. So if I'm checking out at Costco or Sam's Club, I forced myself to have those conversations. I forced myself to ask my food server if they do this, if this is all they do they enjoy their job? I had forced myself to have those conversations. But guys, it doesn't always turn into Arbonne. But it helped me become a more friendly person. And not that I didn't think I was friendly before, but I was closed off because of my shyness. And honestly, that's not very friendly. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. So You don't want to have an agenda. So remember that, because people will be attracted to us because we just are interested in getting to know them. If you go into a conversation meeting and say, how can I slip our bun in? How can I slip our bun in? Guys, that's never going to work. I'll never forget being with my family at In-N-Out Burger. And it was my sister's family, my family, and my brother's family. So there were a lot of us. So we were spread out like off 3 different tables outside In-N-Out Burger. And all the tables and the patio were full. It was a real crowded Saturday afternoon. And I saw this gentleman walking around table to table. And I saw him, I'm like, what is that guy doing? And I saw him, like, you know, hand his business card and walk away. And then I saw the people's reaction. The people's reaction was not positive. Everybody was reacting like, what in the world? Like, oh my gosh, what a joker, right? And he was with his wife. She was going around doing the same thing. And so I'm like, oh, I'm so curious what they're talking about. I had an idea, and then they came to our table. And he said, hi, my name is so-and-so. I am with a company called Primerica. I probably should have named the company. And but he went on to tell us that he could take care of our financial needs, our insurance, or whatever they sell. I don't even know everything. And we just said, obviously, sweetly and kindly, thank you. And I mean, you know, I got to hear, you know, a few snide remarks from my family, not my personal, my extended family. But guys, like, that's not the way to do things. That poor guy was not, he had an agenda. His agenda was like, let me see how many times I can have my business card out. I mean, how many of those people you think threw his business card out? Because nobody is going to give their financial information over to somebody they do not like, know, or trust. But I will tell you that it is amazing how quickly a relationship can build within a short conversation. I've seen it happen. I just witnessed it last night as I was helping a consultant at her Arbonne event, and I watched how she created these relationships within these tiny little amounts of time, and everybody was willing to give her give their phone numbers, whatever they needed to get to know her better. And I'm telling you guys, that is what it's all about. So on page 66, where it says easy to do, he says, try this. Let's say you make a goal of talking to 1 new person every day. So I love this challenge, you guys. 1 new person a day. We can do that, right? We'll get to the point where it'll be like 3, 4, 5, because we're going to get so much in the habit. Because we're always out and about. And if you're not out and about, you got to find a way to get out and about, guys. You just got to create an agenda, a schedule for you to be out and about doing things. But have no agenda, no sales pitch. Just talk to 1 new person every day for fun. See if you can pick out that person's color, personality. This exercise would only take a minute or 2 every day. But here's what's going to happen first. You'll get pretty good at recognizing someone's color. Yep. Second, you're going to have 365 new contacts after a year. And third, this is really exciting because you were such a good listener, because you were a sincere listener. 20, 30, or even 40 of these strangers might ask you what you do for a living, or at least want to know more about you. You could have 5 or 10 people literally volunteer to buy what you sell or join your business. This is what we call sponsoring with no rejection. And ultimately, that's what we all want, right? That would be awesome if that's all we ever did. So really, it comes down to becoming an incredible listener, listening to them, asking lots of questions, but again, taking the agenda off the table and letting it happen naturally in that sense. Second thing we're going to talk about, you guys, is starting on page 67. Now the world makes more sense, because as we understand colors, as we understand personality types, we understand now why someone might not join our business when we thought they would. And on page 68, he was talking about just the differences in how different people respond. Greens are great at taking complicated ideas and explaining them a simple way for others to understand. Blues should be doing things, so blues are made for action, but greens should explain things. And greens have plenty of time to do this since they have lots of planning to do before they take their first action step. I always think it's funny what he says. But when he was talking about how we're born a color personality, he talks about 4 kids. And so when I first read this book, and we were going through the colors, I mean, I literally could have written Nathan, my third born, all over the blue chapter, like 100% Nathan was blue. Like even right here, the way they describe Nate, even to this day, like he was always, as a little boy, just constantly into something, always into something. And but he's still like that. And it's so fun because he just loves fun. He loves adventure. He loves being around people. He loves talking to people. And you know where he talked about how sometimes a personality can get stuck in the wrong job. And I remember all of my kids, not one of my kids is a green. So they're all in this category where they've got to be around people, like they're people. And I remember Nathan had this job that someone helped him get. It was a great job, but he was at a desk and he wasn't communicating and he wasn't talking to people. Guys, his light would have begun to go out had he stayed in that job. And he quickly realized that and switched and got to a different job where he's around people all the time now. And that's how he interacts in his sales job. And but prior to that, it was something that was going to be, it was like an adverse thing to his personality type. And I think all my kids are like that. They need to be around people because they're such people. So the other thing is we marry a different color. Like hopefully, I mean, usually you're attracted to somebody that's the opposite of you. One other thing that I have learned, guys, is most of the people I sponsor are not the same color as me either. So it's very similar. And I'll never forget years ago going through another personality type thing, reading this one book, and I had this one gal that I had sponsored directly. Somebody under her was more like me. Our personality types were alike, but with her, she struggled with, she goes, I can't do what you do. I can't say what you say. It's so uncomfortable for me. And that was eye-opening for me. So I'm like, oh my gosh. So, well, what do you think your strengths are? Let's play to your strengths. So we created that around her strengths because I didn't want her to become Beth. I wanted her to become her and highlight her. And so that was eye-opening me for as a leader, because oftentimes we might come, like, you guys, if you're the type that's like, get it done, give me a list, A, B, C, D, E, this is what they say for Recipe for Success, and I'm working on it, you're going to do really well at getting that stuff done. But when you sponsor someone who's a yellow and is like, or even a green, they're petrified to come to a meeting or whatever and stand out. Like, you can't force a green, a yellow, or blue to do the things that you've done as a red. It's going to be like fingernails on a chalkboard to them. And so that's why we have to identify, when we identify what color someone is, we can come around and really kind of think like a yellow, a red, a green, or blue, if it's the opposite of what we are, and go, how would that be? How would that look? How can I? And that's helped me tremendously as a leader, because you will most often sponsor someone who is opposite of you. And it helps us quickly figure that out. And then on page 71, we go into why prospects say no to great things. We already kind of talked about this. It's just because we're speaking in the wrong color language, right? And he gives different examples, which are really funny. On page 72, green versus blue. And is a green giving a presentation to a blue? The green slowly recreates the history of the company. They go into every dark detail about, let's say it's Arbonne. They go into every detail about what makes it special. And the blue's eyes are glazing over. Literally, they're ready to hit the trail. The blue has finished a 6-pack of beer and is contemplating jumping off a cliff to avoid any further torture from this green information maniac. The communication is key, and the awesomeness stopped after 30 seconds of the mind-numbing facts from the green. So if we're talking to a green, they like the facts, the details, everything behind what makes it happen. I remember one time we used to have, you know, we have the Meet the Product sheet. So we used to have what was called a product knowledge manual, and it was really big. It had like a Meet the Product sheet for everything, and you would print it out once. I mean, I had it in a binder, and it was like this thick. I would take that binder with me to parties. And I remember one time I had like a cosmetic chemist at our party. Okay, guys, that's happened like once or twice in my life where there was somebody who, and she was definitely a green now when I look back, because she goes, I want to know what makes up I'm all, I mean, my eyes were like, I was like, oh my gosh. But I'm like, thank God I gave her that binder, and she sat there the entire time. She didn't listen to the presentation. She went through that binder one page by page, and she totally bought the product and fell in love with it. But it was crazy to me. But thank God I had that informational junkie type thing with me, because it was huge for her. Now that I think about it, maybe I should print out every Meet the Product sheet for folks like that, because you just never know when someone's going to be there. Or blue versus green. When he starts talking about the fun factor, I mean, like, for example, like when I joined Arbonne, guys, like, I was not attracted. I remember walking right past Carlita's Mercedes. She talked about Atlantis. All those things were not a hook for me. It was not until my husband in the car ride connected the dots and said, babe, this could help me. Like, this will give me 1 day off a week. Like, he helped connect the dots because the fun factor was not a thing for me. That all Arbonne was uncomfortable for me, right? So I throw fun in the mix for it. That wasn't going to change, you know, where I came from and what I was looking to do and what I didn't want to do. So, and that's not, I mean, it was, you know, lots of times, guys, we're the dot connectors after someone's heard a presentation. That's why, like, when we send like someone else's presentation and stuff, we want to make sure we know even then, because not everybody's going to be attracted to my story because of the different personality types. And he goes on and gives different examples. I just think it's really fun to read, like the yellow versus the red, a yellow giving a red. I mean, this is important too, because your worker bees, like the people who get things done, are reds. We all get things done. All color types do, but the reds get things done faster. So if I were to be sharing at a party about all the fun, fluffy personal growth and development, and oh my gosh, my life is amazing, and butterflies are through this, flying through that. Do you see those butterflies? Because everything, I know we don't say that, but you guys get the gist. Like, if I was at this presentation and I'm helping people put their mask on, or if we're not doing a mask, but I'm interacting with everybody, and I have 5 men and women who I've already been able to identify by their personality types, that they're all reds. They're like, you know, I like to get things done, you know, their personalities are reds. And when I share my I story and I go into how Arbonne has changed me, I used to be scared and now I'm not, and I go into all the fluffy parts, they're gonna like start snoring on me, right? So that's why it's important we can adapt quickly in our story. And that's why, like, if you were on the 1 day, when I talked about knowing your I story, you want to know your I story so well that when you need to tweak it to the personalities that are in that room, you can tweak it. And so that's when if you're not a red, but your upline is, you can pull in different qualities of someone else. And so important. So the number 4 is our 3 magic questions that starts on page 75. But really quick, on page 74, because I did have this highlighted quite a bit, this is why people don't join. We don't need better PowerPoint presentations, and we don't need better videos and brochures. Those things aren't the problem. The problem is us. If we fail to translate our message into the color language of our prospect, then nothing will save us. And it's just so true. When I think back of my business and different people who didn't join me, it's like I did not do a proper job of identifying with them. So that's why this is so helpful. But okay, so we go on to, the 3 magic questions. Sorry, it's right here in my notes, but I'm like, huh? Okay, the 3 magic questions. These are things that will help you figure out folks right away. The first one is, what do you do for a living? I kind of touched on this with my son Nathan. Like, if somebody gets into a job, like they love the helping aspect, he gives the example of Mary, and then she gets promoted in the manager position. And she really struggles with that. And I remember working in a restaurant out of high school. I was a server. And I remember anytime they would promote a server to manager, I had a friend who was people person. And then she got promoted to manager, and she struggled so much. Like, she became kind of like a, I don't know, like she really had a hard time with managing the folks. And so she eventually just told her boss, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be over people. So that's why different personality struggles are going to struggle in that. So, but that's the first question. What you do for a living can help you figure out a little bit where they're coming from and what color they are. The second one is, what do you do in your free time? This is also going to help because it'll determine what they like. If they're like, I like to work puzzles and do Sudoku and don't go anywhere on the weekends, then they're probably a green. And no, I'm not a big puzzle person, but I do like to play games. The third question is, what do you like most about your job or hobby? This also will help you identify some of the folks. And like he gave those questions down at the bottom on page 78 where you had to guess and see what color personalities they were. And so it's just helpful, guys, all around for us to know and see where they are. And did anybody answer those questions? I'm like, I know there's got to be an answer somewhere, but I love my job because I meet lots of new people every day. I think that's a blue. Anybody want to write in the chat? You could tell me. We could I feel a deep sense of contribution when I help people find the job of their dreams. That's a yellow. I love playing this video game because it lets me compete with players all over the world and post our scores. That's a red. And of course, I can work on my own, no supervision or distractions, and all I have to do is provide a concise report at the end of the week detailing pertinent information is a green. And then as we go into this next chapter, the language of colors, I'm not going to spend a lot of time here because I want you guys to go back and review these words. But this helps us understand the different like trigger words you hear people share. Like some of the yellow language is care, feel, help, assist, mindful, protect, anxiety, concern, stress, hardship. These are different things that you might hear in a conversation with someone over the phone. A blue language, exciting, fun, travel, adventure. These are, you're going to hear some of those things as well. Different things that they want to do. Red language, if you're having a conversation with a red personality, power, control, compete, money. Losers, I don't know that I've ever heard any reds on my team say losers, but whatever. Winners, authority, dominate, drive, leverage, strong, helpless, useless, command, goals, execute, achieve. You guys, one time I heard Ian VP Heidi Sal was training at one of Carlita's retreats that I happen to be at too in Oklahoma. And she said that if you only talk about, like at a presentation, if you only talk about personal growth and development, the people who are going to work your business will like not hear the opportunity at all. But if you talk and get direct to the point about what this business can do and the money that you can make, they're the ones that are like, show me the money, show me how to do it, and I'll get it done. So again, this reference back to where we just listening. Green language as well, give some of that. And also in writing, and one thing it says on, I'll read the short memo from a red personality, observe all the controlling words and directness. And oftentimes I find that they might not read the email, they only scan it and pick out a few different words. So it's definitely so important that we understand these languages. And we don't have to like go get our masters in this, you guys. I think that the simplicity, the simple way that he writes in this, to me, helps me understand it in a quick and concise way. But also he says, don't describe things in your language. And this is a little hard. Like this is a little hard. So we want to be, when we give our presentations, we definitely want to be open to all personalities. And the last thing where he says on page 85, motivating the different color personalities. This is tricky because this is where you're going to see different changes. Like it talks about on page 86, this is why some great contests and motivational campaigns fail. One size doesn't fit all, and maybe one contest or campaign doesn't fit all. That's why you're going to have, when you throw out an incentive or a challenge, you're going to have, you know, several people that, yep, I'm doing it. And then you're going to have other people that like the idea of doing it, but are frozen in the idea of how they would do that because it looks so far out of their comfort zone. Yellows will actually, motivating the yellows, they're going to leave their comfort zone to help others. So all you have to say is all the profits from our retail sales this month will be donated to orphan kittens. Now, your yellow distributor is a retailing machine. It's easy to talk to strangers to support a bigger cause. Again, yellows are going to respond well to if you as a leader, like oftentimes when I talk to area managers or RVPs about going to that next level of region and nation, sometimes folks are concerned or scared about sharing their goals, like sharing what they're working towards. But I'm always like, you're going to find that everybody on your team wants you to promote. Like they're excited for you to get to the next level. They're excited about helping you get there. And so especially the yellows work harder for things like that, work harder for helping somebody above them than they would for their own self. That's important, you guys, because yellows will overcome fears just to make that happen, which is so good. Motivating the blues. Well, the blues, it's about a travel incentives, you know, is when we announce the trip, things like that. Or if you're going out afterwards, after a meeting, you know, oftentimes we go do taco night after our meeting, whatever, if you make sure there's something involved, that's something fun. At the place where we meet at, there's a salsa dancing right afterwards. It's only like $5 to drop in. I'm surprised I haven't seen some of my blues stay for that. And then motivating the reds. You can motivate the reds simply by listing the top producers in your newsletter. So recognition, recognition, recognition. If they know they're going to be highlighted somewhere, reds work hard for that. If there's a trip or holiday to be won, the reds don't really want to go on the trip because that takes time away from building their businesses, but they do like being seen as recognized for winning the trip, you guys. So it's really important. The reds don't like this on page 90. Would you like to get a red person in your life or do almost anything you want? It's easy. Follow the simple formula. Step 1, give the red a compliment. Step 2, give another compliment. Step 3, and then give them a challenge. And the reds can't resist a challenge. And so, and you know what, guys? It's okay. Like I said, you know, reds get things done, and we want more reds on our team. And sometimes a yellow is going to be intimidated or scared to sponsor a red. And this is where we can all grow. We've literally gotten all the secrets to, I was going to say the love languages. We've already got the secret to the color languages. So this should give us confidence as we go out and be bold in sponsoring, if you're red, and sponsoring yellows, because it's great to have yellows on your team. It's great to have the greens, because the greens are good at all the background work. It's great to have the blues, because the blues will add that element of fun. But like you said, blues are like great at bringing in people because they're talking all the time. Like the blues in my life, you guys, I watched one last night, and she, just the way she interacted with all the people at this event, I'm like, wow, like I need to spend more time with this gal, you know, because of the way she interacted and pulled people into her because of her personality. So we want to have a wide range of colors. We don't want to just have, if you're yellow, you don't want to have just a team of yellows. You want to have a diverse team of personalities, and you'll see the growth from that when you do that. And so I think that's really cool. And so guys, in summary, remember, one size doesn't fit all. Different contests or promotions will bring out the best of the different color personalities. Now we understand why some people are excited and some are not, and when a new contest is announced. So if that's the case, if you know like your reds are going to jump on an incentive you're doing, but you're like, but what about the greens and yellows and blues? Then what you can do is you can individualize things. You can individualize things, and you can say, what about this challenge excites you? Well, I would love to win the prize that's there, but this is overwhelming for me, how I can break it down. And so then you can like personalize it and help it become something that's more doable for them, still have the challenge based on it, but identify or make it relatable to their color. And in summary, all the color personalities are good. I'm on page 93. All the personalities make great leaders. It doesn't matter what color personality you are. Most of us are born with our personality traits, and there's no need to change them. So what actually matters? Our job as communicators is to transfer the message inside of our minds to the mind of others. To be effective, we have to speak in the languages that others understand. When we observe and recognize the different color personalities, we can choose better words and phrases. This will ensure more accurate communication. Will everyone we talk to have these exaggerated traits? Nope, but many will. And with these people, communication will be easy. So have fun observing people and get ready for a more enjoyable communication experience. In a nutshell, what he just said is listen. Listen more. And if you're a red and a blue, listening is tough. And then there are things about the reds and blues that are really tough for a yellow and green. So it really means becoming a chameleon, guys, and not like in a bad way, but becoming a chameleon to relate to everyone. And you guys, that's leadership. When we can become better listeners and sit down and create conversations without an agenda, but to truly be interested in someone, you're going to be surprised at like how this transforms your communication with every other relationship in your life. So I don't want you guys to just be thinking argon. Imagine how this is going to help you in your relationship with your kids, in your relationship with your spouse, and a relationship with your siblings, your coworkers, and every other person you have in your life. Like this can be a game changer because it forces us to listen and to look and see, how can I identify with this person? What do I need to tweak and change about what I'm saying that's going to help them come and hear me out? So I want to go ahead and open this up for a few minutes and to see if you guys wanted to share some things as we wrap up this book. Who would like to share some things too?
I don't have much to share, Beth, but I do want to say this is probably one of my favorite books, and I think it's almost one of those books that kind of goes right alongside of like Eric Worre Go Pro. It's like the Bible for network marketing, kind of, because it's so important.
Yeah.
it's so good. Like, I feel like I can go back and study. You know, I need to study more and work on, like, practicing some of my skill sets with other personalities. So
Yeah.
good. But it's so cool to be able to be out interacting, not even Arbonne, and be able to recognize people's colors, you know, immediately. Like, you just know. So good.
Yeah, I hope
Great
you
job.
guys take that. I hope you guys take that challenge, and I agree with you, Krista. I hope everybody takes the challenge, the 365-day challenge. Honestly, like when I'm helping people overcome fear, I challenge them to talk to one new person a day, just to have a conversation with somebody you don't know, whether it's like, gosh, your shoes are so stinking cute. Where'd you get those? Like those conversation starters. And of course, I'm not going to say that to someone who doesn't have cute shoes. I'm going to tell the truth. But it's always fun to see where those conversations lead. You just never know. So I agree, Krista. It's really it's quirky too, because of the way he writes and some of the references. I've never heard of that TV show, but I do know Archie Bunker. And so yeah, it's such a quick and easy read like GoPro. So it definitely should be a staple in people's book reading. Who else would like to share?
I'll share.
Okay.
This is my first time listening and I loved it. So I just want to say I'll be listening every week now.
Oh, awesome. Thanks for being on, Tiffany. Welcome.
Thank you. Anybody
else, you guys? I should have checked the calendar. I'm not sure if we're taking a Saturday off. I don't know if anybody wants to pull up the Facebook group, but I just go ahead and grab your book and have chapter 1 ready, because I don't know if I've seen the schedule yet for it, but you definitely want to be ready. So the new book, the title is, I'll type it in too, Everyone Communicates, but Few Connect. All my John C. Maxwell books are on my other bookshelf. By John C. Maxwell. It's okay, guys, so just to prepare you, it's convicting. Okay, so you know how we've been talking, this book is all about listening to identify people's different color personalities, to better know how to share the business and to communicate with our teams better. Well, like this next book takes it to a whole new level of that communication. And gosh, it's so good. I can't wait for you guys to read it. If it's your first time, get ready and just commit to it, guys. Commit to getting it done. I like to read through a book pretty quick and then go back when we do the book club, a chapter at a time. It's just great review, but I'm excited to read this book again. So everyone communicates, but few, I'm trying to type and say that at the same time. It's funny. Everyone communicates, but few connect. John Maxwell is the author. So anybody else?
Beth, they have a form of this for employees and leaders in businesses and so on and so forth. We had an online version of it where I work at AMI, and it really did help promote understanding amongst staff members and stuff, and why people react the way they do and why people work the way they do and what's important to them and stuff. It was really helpful. It's helpful in a lot of different settings, but I found we, the nurses, understood each other better and made accommodation for that in the way that we communicated and the way we understood each other after going through that course.
That's awesome, Meg. Yeah, I heard so many different personality, and I've done the Enneagram and all the different things, and it really boils down to us not being selfish. Like when I think about, for me, if I'm going to sit and listen and not have an agenda in my head, I'm being selfless. Like I'm truly giving that person my attention. Guys, like even, okay, so I know this has been talked about briefly in the book, but like when you're talking to someone and you have something in your head that you're thinking about what you want to say, you're not listening. Like if I'm compiling in my head what I'm going to say back to this person, I didn't hear a word they said. And guys, I have been in conversations with people where my mind was somewhere else. And when they ask me a question, I've had to say, I am so sorry. I didn't even hear what you just said. And that's awful to say, but people can tell when you're not listening. So I just feel like everything boils down to us listening. And like you said, Meg, how it helped in the workplace and helping identify what all the different nurses' needs are. And also, I would imagine with your patients, like, I don't know, guys, it's when we become better listeners, we become all around better people and better communicators. So thanks for sharing, Meg. It helps in all areas. It's amazing. Okay, guys, well, I'm going to go ahead and let you go. And can't wait to meet with you in our next book club and our new book. Such a good book. I know I keep saying that, but it's such a good book. And, but I love you guys. Make it a great Saturday and have an awesome November. See you next week.